All right, y'all. This is my first, I guess, live um, cast from YouTube, and it's early in the morning. It is 6:23, I believe. I always set my car time a little fast so I can, because I'm habitually late. But anyway, so I just arrived at dialysis, and so this is why. I don't know if this happens at every facility or if it's just DaVita in particular, but I just got here for I'm actually I'm supposed to be here at 6:15 for 6:30 on time, and I'm going to turn that off. I'm getting some crazy messages. Okay, so anyways, basically I got here, it was 6:13 or something like that when I went in. And I'm just going to show you out there. I'm still in the parking lot, that's the facility. And so anyway, so I show up, and now mind you, I don't live that far away, but a phone call would have actually just been nice. And I get here, and my car's making funny noises. Anyway, so I get here, and they come out. I already had a feeling something was weird. So she comes out and tells me that 3 of their machines are down today, and that they're already using, I guess, their spare 2, and the guy who comes out to work on the machines is on call, and he's in Venice, so he's at least an hour away. And so she tells me it'll basically be at least an hour before they could possibly get me on. Now, here's my thing, and this is what I don't like about it, because this is Saturday, which means I'm going to go Sunday, Monday, and then I'll be dialyzed again on Tuesday, whereas right now it's only been Wednesday that I haven't dialyzed, because I dialyzed on Tuesday. So she tells me it's going to be at least an hour. So I'm like, okay, then I guess that means I can just go back home, because I live 15 minutes away. So I can go back home and I'll just wait for you guys to call me. And she's like, yeah. And then she goes, and then we'll just have to talk to some other patients and see if we can move some times around or something like that so that you can get your full treatment. I'm sorry, wait a second. So it's Saturday, and typically any other clinic does not close until their last patient is done, nor would they cut an appointment for something as major as this, because we have to sign an AMA if we want to come off the machine early for our treatment, but yet they can just cut our treatment at any time without any type of action on their part where they're getting in trouble, because I highly doubt they're not going to charge Medicare for a full treatment for me today because they decide to take me off early. But then, not to mention the fact, you're compromising my life by shortening my treatment. And then on top of that, why am I the patient that has to have their treatment shortened? Because I'm the last one to go in the morning? Or, I just don't understand the rationale to that. Who do you pick and choose that has to shorten their treatments? If that's the case, then maybe you shorten everybody. But still, the clinic does not necessarily have a close time. So that would just mean to me that, it sounds like your Saturday is going to get a little bit later because of your machines going down, which is not the patient's problem. So this is why I am so adamant about doing peritoneal dialysis at home, and getting this catheter fixed on the 20th hopefully will allow me to do that, because hemodialysis is just so unpredictable, like, because number one, you're dealing with blood. Number two, you're only doing it 3 days a week in center, and someone else is in charge of your care. So if they're having a bad day, that reflects into you, because we all know that most people, when they have issues like that, they bring them to work with them, and then it ends up getting passed on to someone else just because of, whatever. But nonetheless, I'm baffled right now. And so then it takes me back to the video that I saw here on YouTube with John Oliver in regards to DaVita and how it's run like a Taco Bell, basically. Hurry up and get people in, get them out, and there's just there's no precedent set for patient care. And that's sad. It's really just sad, because when you think of like people that have cancer, typically oncology nurses and the technicians that administer their chemotherapy are very sympathetic and typically treat them really well, because cancer is a terminal illness. Well, end-stage renal disease is a terminal illness. Like, even after transplant, we are still considered to have some form of end-stage renal disease, because our kidney function never returns to 100%. Even with a transplant, you still lose some function in the beginning. And so, considering the fact that we are labeled as patients as non-compliant if we cut our treatments, what does that make the clinic if they're cutting our treatments? And I mean, I have so much more opinions to discuss about hemodialysis and DaVita in particular, because it's the only it's the only clinic that I've ever dialyzed at, basically, during my 9 years of hemodialysis prior to my first kidney transplant, and then now while I'm waiting for a second. Before DaVita actually was incorporated, you had to dialyze in a hospital, where the clinic was located in the hospital, which made sense to me, because this is a serious procedure. And I mean, people have literally died on these machines before, and it's a clinic, so there's no emergency staff on hand that could get there quick enough to possibly resuscitate a person. These are technicians that are paid a bit above minimum wage, so they're basically glorified like medical assistants. And then you have usually maybe one nurse on staff, occasionally two, but that's with like 30 patients per shift. And that's a lot to have with such minimal medical staff. Like, I mean, the FA is not here every single day. And even if she was, she seems more in the back office portion rather than the clinical portion. And then there's no doctor on staff. There's no PA. There's nothing. So basically, we are left in the care of technicians and nurses, and that's kind of a scary thought, considering some of the things that I've seen and heard and experienced for myself throughout my time on dialysis, both now and before. So I just wanted to make this video because I don't think people understand, like, just how much this disrupts your life. Like, what if I had an appointment after, or if I had plans or friends in town or a flight to catch or anything? A lot of people don't really understand on how many levels that this affects your life. And I know I'm not the only one that is completely grateful for actually having this life-saving treatment. Or really, I would say not life-saving, but life-extending treatment that buys us all time while we wait on this list of over 90,000 people. I mean, there's 120 something thousand right now that are waiting for all organs, but I'm speaking like particularly just into kidneys. So there's over 90,000 people on that list right now, all waiting for kidneys, all sitting in clinics like this. Well, if not all of them, then at least most of them, because some people are lucky enough to have kidney function that can last them right up to where they get a transplant, or they have a living donor, or paired exchange, one of those things that kind of moves them along a lot faster in the process. But I've been on the list for a year and a half. In my back window, as you can see, I mean, you can see it, it's flipped around. So, I have advertising on my car, I've got a website, I had t-shirts made up, I have 2 Facebook pages. I was going to get some bumper stickers made, but I don't have the finances for that right now, because I thought that would maybe get some things out a little bit more, because I could just ask random people if they'd put it on their car even temporarily, to direct people to like my website so they can find out more. But yeah, I mean, it's not an easy process, and with lungs and hearts and livers, they don't have dialysis for that. They have medications that can extend your lifespan, and then they have like medical assistive devices with like pacemakers and oxygen and things like that. But they typically get their organs faster anyways, just because they're moved up on the list based on medical necessity. And for people with kidneys, we just have to wait until our number is called, essentially. And it's a long wait for a perfectly matched kidney. And no one that I've had tested has matched me, or if they've matched me, they've backed out for whatever reason, or they haven't matched me, and they've also not been willing to participate in the paired exchange program. So it's difficult, and it's it can get very disheartening, and I see why so many people actually just end up giving up, and quitting dialysis, because it's not, it's a treatment and it's a life extension, but is it really? Because when you're on in-center dialysis, you are pretty much tied to a 3-day-a-week schedule. And sure, you can schedule your dialysis in other places, but you still never know the level of care you're going to receive there. And it has to be done so far in advance that I know for younger people like me who like to be a little more spontaneous with their trips, it makes it very difficult. Like, I've been really wanting to visit my friend Stephanie in Nevada. I miss her so much. She's my best friend in the whole world. And every single time I've tried to plan a trip out there, something comes up. Either my catheter is not working right, or I've just been hospitalized, or, there's just so many different things that have to be sort of taken into consideration, and then it just eventually discourages you from doing it in general, because you're just kind of like, this takes so much planning and so much advanced time where things could potentially happen between that month. Just for an example, when I got my first transplant, it was October 7th, 2005. And the night before, I was actually driving to the casino after I had gotten out of class, because I really did well on a exam that I had, and I felt lucky. And for the oddest reason, which I'd never done before, I chose to head up to the casino by myself, because I just didn't have anything else to do for the night. And I got my call on the way. So and I had 11 wonderful years off of dialysis with that kidney before it finally succumbed to a rejection episode that I had previously, and just over time the nephrotoxicity from the medications that you have to take for immune suppression. So, it's bittersweet, because then I knew I was returning to dialysis, and I knew that I didn't want to do in-center from the issues that I'd had in the past and how I'd felt, and, being tethered to one place 3 days a week, and the travel issues, because I really do miss going to see my family up in Michigan, and also, of course, visiting my other friends in other states. And then there's the energy portion of it, where, hemodialysis just kind of drains you, and peritoneal, since you're doing it every day, you're taking smaller amounts of fluid off at a time, which makes it a lot easier on your body. So basically, I really want to be able to get back to that, so I can get my freedom and feel like I have a little bit of a normal life back. So I can only imagine what this feels like for people who have had to stop driving, which I got pulled over because my catheter is in my neck on my left side, and the seatbelt goes directly across it. And so I wear my seatbelt, like my shoulder strap behind me and my lap belt across, in order to not pull on my catheter here. And so the cop actually told me to get a letter from my doctor, and he just let me go, which I was very grateful for, because he could have been a jerk and issued me a ticket for improperly wearing my safety belt. So I went to my nephrologist, and then who told me that I had to get the note from dialysis, and then I talked to dialysis, and they know nothing of such a thing, so I have to wait for the PA or the doctor to come in and do their rounds whenever they decide to do that. And so it's up until that point, like, you're stuck, like, you're at the mercy of everyone, and it's frustrating. And like I said, it gets very disappointing and very disheartening. And I think that's why depression also is a huge sort of side effect of kidney failure, because you already kind of have an idea, and the minor deities or MDs or doctors or whatever you want to call them, they pretty much beat it into your head that your lifespan is not going to be the average lifespan of a person. Like, I mean, if you have to get transplants every 10 years, they usually only do 3 or 4 of them. And I'm 38. I had my first one when I was 25. And so it's like, my kidney started going downhill at like 35. And I started thinking to myself, do I want to do this every 10 years? Like, can I really put my body through this every 10 years? Because right now, I feel like an 80-year-old woman. I do not feel like I'm 38. Like, I'm tired all the time. I've withdrawn from, like, all of my social activities, which I try not to contribute to depression, but I do feel that it probably does have a part of that, because not that I'm ashamed of my condition, it's more that I am just withdrawn. Like, I know that I'm tired. I know that I feel like I can't keep up with some people. I've had comments, like, just jokingly be made to me about, like, hurry up, old woman, because I just don't walk as fast as everybody, because I get short of breath, and my body hurts, my knees ache, my feet hurt, my back hurts. So I just have chronic pain that I'm dealing with, that I don't take all of the medication that they want me to take. They want me to take oxycodone every 4 to 6 hours. And if I do that, then I can't even drive to go get my groceries or my prescriptions or run any of the errands that I need to run during the day. I would actually be on the couch more than I am now. And so I guess I should just sort of bring this to an end because it's been like 20 minutes of my rant, and by the time I get home, they may end up just turning around calling me again. But I think I'm going to stand up today and speak out and not allow them to shorten my treatment, because this issue was not my fault. I understand if I would have showed up 15 or 20 minutes late for my appointment, then sure, cut my time. But you did not notify me when you already knew that you had all these machines down first thing this morning, and it would have took them a minute to do that, and then I'm the one that's going to look non-compliant because it's going to be on paper that my treatment was shortened, and they're not going to document that it was due to their machine breakdowns and stuff like that. They're just going to put down that my treatment was shortened, which means that I am missing an opportunity for that extra however long they're going to cut me of getting my blood cleaned. And, one time may not be bad because I don't shorten my treatments like ever, because I know how important they are. And since I'm only getting treatment 3 times a week, that means that I'm only getting 11 hours of kidney function in a week, when normal kidneys function 24 hours a day, 365, and you've got 2 of them, so one is even a backup. I'm just baffled, and I was just feeling very upset about it, and I'm not gonna take it out on the technician because I don't feel like it's necessarily a technician's fault. I think it's an organizational fault, because I know that this is not the only clinic that stuff like this happens at. So this is company-wide that this stuff happens, and I think more people just need to know about it, because not everyone will speak up, and because they're afraid of, their videos getting out, or someone that works for the company running across it, and then them having some type of retribution during, the treatment, where, at one point, like when I was at this very same clinic, because I was doing Facebook Live videos and kind of discussing the things that were going on, and that there was blood on my chair, I asked the lady to clean off 3 times. Wasn't my blood either, but nonetheless, I was put into the isolation area, and I was labeled as the problem patient for simply documenting my experience on dialysis, so that other people could understand what not just me, but all of us go through. And so I can only imagine people who, again, can't drive because of their health, because of how they feel after dialysis, people who have to depend on that public transportation that gets here whenever they feel like it, so you're stuck here half the day, people who are older and are just not more apt to speaking out about things like this happening. And then you have people who really just can't get those words out because of whatever, difficulties that they have. If they have, some people are deaf, and some people have really bad, whatchamacallit, I'm sorry, the word is escaping me, really bad secondary conditions, and, I'm sorry, really bad secondary conditions, and, as the result of diabetes and, stuff like that. And then you also have people who are not, the medications are just, they've fogged up their brain, and so they can't get the words out in such a way that would maybe impact people. So that's what I kind of feel like I can bring to this, is that by documenting my experience this time around, since when I was on dialysis before, we didn't have this technology to be able to do Facebook Live or YouTube live or even just recording a YouTube video and uploading it was like, I think we were still on like dial-up, so it's and all that stuff. It takes you like 2 days to upload a 2-minute video, and here I am approaching 25. So I think I've probably kept enough of your time today. I appreciate if you've watched this video at all. On my opinions, more specifically towards DaVita dialysis and their just unprofessional medical practices and lack of compassion for their patients. So, and lack of respect for our time, which, we never know how much time we have left, literally. Like, patients have come in here on a Monday and not made it back on Wednesday because they passed away sometime like between Monday and Tuesday in their sleep, or due to a secondary or tertiary condition, or heart attacks. I mean, those are rampant with patients that are on dialysis and stuff, is that your heart just gives out. It can't take it anymore. That's hemodialysis more specifically that I'm referring to. But, and then same thing with like Tuesday and Thursday. You might see somebody on Tuesday and then they're gone on Thursday, or you see them on Thursday and they're gone on Saturday, or they passed away over the weekend, but they looked perfectly fine when they left the last time you seen them. And so it's like none of us are promised tomorrow, and we should all be able to work together to create a health system that benefits both the patient and the provider. Like, we're supposed to be a team. We should really be working together in order to create the best treatment plan for each individual patient, because we're not all just cookie cutter people that the same things can be done for the same people and the same results will occur, because we come from different ethnic backgrounds. We have different body masses. We have different mental capabilities. There are so many things that make us diverse. And unfortunately, it seems that a lot of patients are just sort of lumped into a category. You're all stuck on 3.5 hours, depending on what your lab results are. And like, we're supposed to be flexible, and the people who are charging us and providing us with these services are inflexible. So that makes no sense to me, which is why we need major healthcare reform, not only in the sense of the providing of healthcare as a universal like health system for patients, but we also need to take more accountability, patients and providers alike, for how this system has really just downgraded, and how there's not a sense of urgency for patient care anymore right now. I mean, there's plenty of doctors, so it's one of those things, especially if you're seeing doctors that have multiple physicians in one practice. If you're too busy to deal with your patient, then like pass them on to someone else in a nice way who you may think that they would work good with, rather than just sort of continually pawning them off or ignoring their messages, or what have you, because that's been a big problem with me too, is that the communication between even the medical offices sucks, and that's for lack of a better term, but it really just does, because I don't even get calls back on messages that I leave that are really important, and that have often ended up sending me to the ER because I never got a response from my physician. So it makes me wonder, what is Medicare and I paying you for? Because I cover a portion, 20% at least, of my medical costs. I'm not covered at 100%. I don't have a secondary insurance because I was denied due to the fact that end-stage renal disease is an excluded condition in a lot of secondaries, especially for people under 65. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's just really my rant for this morning. I've already been sitting here for 30 minutes. I guess I'll just go and grab something quick for breakfast and hope I get a phone call from them by the time that I'm heading back instead of going all the way back home now. So I hope you enjoyed my video. Make sure to like it if you do, and feel free to leave some comments. I am completely open to constructive criticism, so don't feel bad if you have something contradictory to say to what my experience has been, because I know that we all have our own opinions and we're all entitled to that. And so I openly welcome people to express themselves and correct me if I'm wrong on things, because that's the only way that we can all learn from one another. So, yeah, subscribe. I don't post very often, but I probably will try to start now, since I know that this is actually a feature rather than doing Facebook Live, because I can always do this and then share it to Facebook and, same deal. So, if you want to hear more from me, subscribe to my page and follow me on Instagram at, I think I'm Mel Needs a Kidney, and it should be the same on Facebook, but I'd have to get back to you in another video on that. I also have a kidney page, Mel Needs a Kidney, on Facebook, and then I have my website, which is www.melneedsakidney.com, which contains a lot of information about parent exchange programs. It has the link to the living donor interest form for Tampa General Hospital. Excuse me. And it also has links to information about how the procedures are conducted, information on how to get grants and stuff like that. So if you're a patient, there are links on there that's under the patient resources. There's my bio that kind of explains my whole story of how my kidney disease came on, and then my journey throughout transplantation and eventually rejection. There is also a link to my Help Hope Live page, because I have to maintain a minimum balance of 12,584, I believe. It's 84 or 48. I always get those numbers transposed, but I have to maintain that balance in order for Tampa General to keep me on the list, because that's like my 20% of the expected costs of the surgery, plus 6 months of my Medicaid share of cost, because they don't qualify for Medicaid, and my Medicaid share of cost is over $1,400 a month, and my income is just almost less than that. And then I have so there's a link on there that I accept tax-deductible contributions. So whatever is donated is 100% tax-deductible. And then I also have an eBay page with, a little business that I've been trying to get going with crafts. And I have an Etsy page, which all that stuff I can share later down in I'll have some links below or something for you guys if anyone is interested in any of that. I'll be holding a fundraiser yard sale / bake sale sometime next month, but since it's just me that handles all of the fundraising activities that I've been trying to do, it becomes kind of difficult. And with me just having no energy, and then now being on dialysis on Saturday, it's hard to do a over the weekend sort of whatchamacallit. It's hard for me to do an over the weekend entire weekend yard sale, because Saturday mornings I have to be at dialysis, so I'd have to start it later on Saturday, which is kind of confusing for people. So I may just have to start it later every day. Anyways, now I'm just kind of rambling. So I'm going to get going and go grab me something a little healthy for breakfast. So I thank you all again for watching and trying to understand my journey a little bit more on my way to hopefully a transplant soon. And just want to say, have a wonderful, amazing, blessed Saturday. And I love each and every one of you. You're all my brothers and sisters because we are one. And I pray that you have an abundant, joyous, happy, healthy, peaceful, and prosperous day in all aspects of life. Love you all, and I will talk to you all again soon. Later.